For years earlier, at the Military Working Dog Training Center in San Antonio, Texas, a trainer named Maria Santos watched a 2-year-old German shepherd through the observation window. The dog sat in a room with 12 volunteers. 11 were instructed to act normal. 1 was instructed to simulate PTSD symptoms, elevated heart rate, controlled stress hormone release through scent patches, specific behavioral indicators like shallow breathing and micro-expressions of despair. The dog walked past 10 people without pausing, slowed at the 11th, then sat down directly in front of the 12th, the one simulating crisis, and placed a paw on their knee. Time, Santos asked. 47 seconds, her assistant said, checking the stopwatch. From entry to identification. Santos nodded slowly, making notes on her clipboard. That's the 6th perfect run today. 0 false positives. 0 missed targets. He's ready. The assistant looked at the dog through the window. What do we call him? Santos smiled. The paperwork says K9 Unit 47, but the team's been calling him Buddy. I think that's perfect. The program was called SENTINEL, Suicide Early Detection and Intervention Network Training Initiative for Life-Saving. Developed in 2018 by a joint task force of military psychologists, working dog specialists, and suicide prevention experts, the concept was simple but revolutionary. Train dogs to detect the biochemical and behavioral changes that precede suicidal ideation. The science was solid. When someone experiences severe depression or suicidal thoughts, their body changes. Heart rate variability decreases. Stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, spike and become detectable through scent. Body language shifts. Micro-expressions flash across the face. Breathing patterns change. Humans often missed these signals. They were too subtle, too brief, too easy to hide. But dogs? Dogs could detect these changes with near-perfect accuracy. Over 18 months, Buddy and 11 other dogs were trained in a protocol that combined traditional service dog training with specialized crisis detection. Phase 1. Scent recognition. The dogs learned to identify the specific chemical signature of acute stress and suicidal ideation. They trained with scent samples, learning to distinguish normal stress from crisis-level distress. Phase 2. Behavioral recognition. The dogs learned to read micro-expressions, body language, and behavioral patterns that indicated someone was spiraling toward self-harm. Phase 3. Intervention protocols. The dogs learned specific responses, physical blocking of dangerous actions, retrieving phones or emergency devices, alerting nearby humans, staying with the person until help arrived. Buddy excelled at every phase. His accuracy rate in controlled tests was 97%. His response time averaged under 1 minute. And in field trials with actual veterans experiencing PTSD episodes, he had 0 false negatives. He never missed someone in crisis. He was the star of the program, the proof of concept that Sentinel could work. But in 2020, everything changed. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Army Story so you never miss these true tales of courage. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? The Sentinel program was shut down in March 2020. Budget cuts, they said. Political pressure. The Department of Defense brass didn't believe dogs could prevent suicide. They called the program experimental and unproven, despite the field trial data showing a 63% reduction in suicide attempts among veterans paired with Sentinel dogs. The research was classified. The findings were buried. And the 12 dogs in the program were quietly redistributed to standard therapy dog programs across various military installations. Buddy was sent to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. His file was sanitized. All references to Sentinel removed. His official designation became Therapy Dog PTSD Support. The handlers at Fort Campbell had no idea what he could really do. They just knew he was calm, well-trained, and good with veterans. No one told them that Buddy could sense when someone was contemplating suicide. No one explained that he'd been trained to intervene. No one mentioned that he was, quite literally, a life-saving machine operating under the guise of a regular therapy dog. But Buddy knew his job, and for 3 years he did it quietly, without recognition, without anyone understanding why he was so effective. Until Sergeant Mark Foster. Foster was 32 years old, a combat veteran with 3 deployments and 11 years of service. He'd served in Afghanistan and Iraq as an infantry sergeant, leading squads through some of the most dangerous areas in both conflicts. He'd seen things, done things, lost friends, carried bodies, made decisions that haunted him every night when he closed his eyes. He came home in 2021 with a Purple Heart, a chest full of ribbons, and PTSD that made it impossible to function. The nightmares were constant. The hypervigilance was exhausting. The isolation was crushing. His wife left him in January 2023. She couldn't handle the outbursts, the silence, the distance. She tried. God, she tried. But Foster had become someone she didn't recognize. Command told him to push through it. The VA had a 6-month wait list for psychiatric care. His squad had moved on to new assignments. He was alone. In March 2023, Foster was paired with Buddy through Fort Campbell's therapy dog program. Something to help with the transition, the counselor said. Dogs can be grounding, give you something to focus on. Foster didn't expect much. It was just a dog. How could that help? But from the first day, something was different. Buddy didn't behave like a normal therapy dog. He was attentive in ways that felt almost intelligent. He watched Foster constantly, responded to shifts in mood before Foster even realized his mood was shifting, stayed close during bad days, pressed against his leg during nightmares. For 6 months, Buddy was Foster's anchor, the one constant in a life that felt like it was falling apart. But in September 2023, Foster hit bottom. The nightmares got worse. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating, stopped leaving his apartment except for required formations. His unit noticed, but no one knew what to do. They tried to help, but Foster pushed them away. On September 17, 2023, Foster sat in his apartment at 11:47 p.m., staring at his service pistol on the coffee table. He'd made his decision, written the note, chosen the method. He was done fighting, done pretending he was okay, done carrying the weight. Buddy sat beside the couch, watching him. "Not tonight, boy," Foster whispered, reaching for the pistol. "I'm sorry. I'm so tired." Buddy stood up immediately. Not aggressive, just present. He walked over and put his massive head directly in Foster's lap, looking up at him with dark, knowing eyes. Foster tried to push him away gently. Buddy pressed harder, his weight solid and warm and real. "Move, Buddy, please." Buddy didn't move. Instead, he did something strange. He grabbed Foster's cell phone off the table with his mouth, careful not to damage it, and dropped it in Foster's lap. "What are you?" Buddy barked. Once. Sharp. Urgent. Then he pushed the phone toward Foster's hand with his nose. "I don't want to call anyone." Another bark. Louder. More insistent. Buddy's eyes locked on Foster's, unblinking. Almost without thinking, Foster picked up the phone. His hands were shaking. Buddy nudged the screen, then barked again, this time directly at the phone, as if speaking into it. Foster dialed the MP station. As the line rang, Buddy barked again, a clear, urgent sound that came through the receiver. "MP station, Specialist Rodriguez speaking." Foster's voice broke. "I need help." "Sir, what's your location?" "Building 14, Unit 7. I was going to." He couldn't finish. "Stay on the line. We're coming." For minutes later, MPs arrived. Foster was still sitting on the floor, the gun untouched on the table. Buddy pressed against him like a living anchor. Specialist Rodriguez knelt beside him. "Mark, let's get you some help, okay?" Foster nodded, tears streaming down his face. He knew. Buddy knew what I was going to do. How did he know? Rodriguez looked at Buddy, who sat calmly now, tail wagging slightly. Just a therapy dog. Nothing special, except it was special, because this wasn't the first time. Over the next 72 hours, Captain Hayes from the therapy dog program started asking questions. How many times had Buddy been present during veteran crises? How many incidents had been documented? He went through 3 years of records. Cross-referenced Buddy's assignment history with crisis intervention reports. The answer was staggering. 6 other cases. 6 soldiers over 3 years. 6 incidents where Buddy had somehow been present during mental health emergencies and had intervened before tragedy occurred. Staff Sergeant Jennifer Chun, 8 months prior. Buddy had been walking with his handler past the parking lot when he broke away and ran to Chen's car. She'd been sitting there with a bottle of pills, ready to end it. Buddy barked until people came. Chen thought it was random. It wasn't. Corporal James Davis, 16 months prior. Buddy had been at the recreational area when Davis walked to the bridge railing. The dog ran over, physically blocked Davis from the edge, and wouldn't let him pass. Davis thought it was coincidence. It wasn't. Sergeant Lisa Ramirez, 2 years prior. Buddy woke her from a nightmare that was escalating into a panic attack, so severe she was considering self-harm. The dog stayed with her until she calmed down and called the crisis line. For more cases, for more soldiers, each one saved by a dog who somehow knew what no one else could see. Hayes called the original training facility in San Antonio. After 3 transfers and a classified clearance check, he finally got answers. Buddy is K-9 Unit 47 from the Sentinel program, the administrator said quietly. He's trained in suicide early detection and intervention. He can sense biochemical and behavioral changes that indicate suicidal ideation. His accuracy rate in testing was 97%. Why didn't anyone tell us? Hayes demanded. The program was classified. When it was shut down, the dogs were redistributed. The information about their specialized training was restricted. We assumed they'd just become regular therapy dogs. He's been saving lives for 3 years, and we had no idea what he was doing. That, the administrator said, is what he was trained to do. Save lives, whether anyone knows about it or not. Hayes hung up and immediately reported to Colonel Sarah Mitchell, the base commander. Mitchell listened to the full report. 7 soldiers, 7 interventions, 3 years of silent service. Set up a base-wide formation, she said quietly. Every soldier needs to know about this. 3 days later, Fort Campbell held a mandatory formation on the main parade ground. Over 5,000 soldiers stood in neat rows under the Kentucky sun, wondering why attendance was required for what the announcement said was a recognition ceremony. At the front of the formation, Colonel Mitchell stood with Buddy at her side. The dog sat calmly, tail wagging slightly, seemingly unbothered by the crowd. At ease, Mitchell said. The formation relaxed slightly. Today, I want to tell you about a hero you didn't know you had. For 3 years, this dog, Sergeant Buddy, has been operating on this base as a therapy dog. Most of you have probably seen him around. Some of you may have met him. He looks like a normal dog. Friendly, calm, nothing special. She paused, letting the silence build. But Buddy is not a normal dog. 3 years ago, he came to Fort Campbell from a classified military program called SENTINEL, a program designed to train dogs to detect suicidal ideation before anyone else can see the signs, to sense the biochemical and behavioral changes that precede self-harm, to intervene before tragedy occurs. The formation went very still. For 3 years, no one here knew what Buddy could do. His training was classified. His capabilities were buried in sanitized paperwork. He was just listed as a therapy dog. Mitchell looked down at Buddy, but he knew his job. And over 3 years, he saved 7 lives. 7 soldiers on this base who were contemplating suicide. 7 interventions. 7 people who are alive today because this dog sensed something no human could see and refused to let them die. She gestured to the side of the formation. Those 7 soldiers are here today. I'd like them to step forward. From different parts of the massive formation, 7 soldiers walked toward the front. Sergeant Mark Foster, Staff Sergeant Jennifer Chun, Corporal James Davis, Sergeant Lisa Ramirez. 3 others, each with their own story. They stood in a line, facing Buddy. Foster spoke first, his voice shaking. 3 days ago, I was going to kill myself. I had a gun. I was ready. And Buddy made me call for help. He wouldn't let me die. I don't know how he knew, but he saved my life. Chun stepped forward. 8 months ago, I was in my car with a bottle of pills. Buddy broke away from his handler and wouldn't leave until people came. I thought it was random. Now I know it wasn't. He was doing his job. One by one, the 7 soldiers told their stories. 7 moments of crisis. 7 interventions. 7 lives saved by a dog who never asked for recognition, never expected praise, just quietly did what he was trained to do. When they finished, the formation was silent. 5,000 soldiers processing the impossible. A dog had been walking among them for 3 years, saving lives without anyone knowing. Then Foster did something unexpected. He saluted Buddy. A crisp, perfect salute held with trembling hands. "You're a better soldier than I'll ever be," Foster said, his voice breaking. "Thank you." The other 6 followed. 7 salutes. 7 soldiers honoring the dog who'd given them a second chance. Then Colonel Mitchell did something even more unexpected. She saluted Buddy too. A commanding officer saluting a dog, acknowledging that rank and species meant nothing compared to the act of saving a life. And then, slowly, the entire formation came to attention. 5,000 soldiers saluting a German shepherd who sat calmly at the front, tail wagging, just happy to be doing his job. After the ceremony, Foster approached Buddy. He knelt down, eye level with the dog, and wrapped his arms around him. "I don't know how you knew," Foster whispered, "but I'm alive because of you. I'm going to get help, real help, and I'm going to make sure your second chance wasn't wasted." Buddy licked his face. Just a dog, just doing what dogs do, except it was so much more than that. Over the next 6 months, Fort Campbell implemented new protocols based on what they'd learned. They requested more Sentinel-trained dogs. They expanded mental health resources. They created a program where Buddy could continue his work, properly recognized and supported. The suicide rate at Fort Campbell dropped by 42% in the year following Buddy's revelation. Not all of it was directly attributable to him, but soldiers started paying attention, started watching for signs, started understanding that asking for help wasn't weakness. And when soldiers struggled, they knew they could find Buddy, the dog who knew. Today, Buddy is 8 years old. He still works at Fort Campbell, now officially designated as a PTSD crisis detection dog, the only one of his kind on active duty. His story has been featured in military journals, mental health conferences, and veteran support organizations. But to Buddy, none of that matters. He just does his job, walks the base, senses when someone is struggling, intervenes when needed. The official count now stands at 14. 14 soldiers saved. 14 lives that would have been lost but weren't because a dog trained in a classified program that was shut down kept working anyway. Sergeant Mark Foster completed his treatment program. He's still active duty, now working as a peer support specialist helping other veterans with PTSD. He keeps a photo of Buddy on his desk. "People ask me who saved my life," Foster says. "I tell them it was a dog who refused to let me give up. A dog who knew what I was going to do before I did it. A dog who made me believe that if he thought I was worth saving, maybe I was." At Fort Campbell's Mental Health Center, there's a plaque on the wall. It reads, "In honor of Sergeant Buddy, K9 Unit 47 Sentinel Program. For 3 years, he walked among us unrecognized, saving lives in silence. He proved that heroes come in all forms, and sometimes the most important mission is the one no one knows you're on." Below the plaque, a photo. Buddy sitting calmly, tail wagging, eyes bright. Just a dog doing his job. Just a hero who never asked to be called one. Moral of the story: not all heroes wear uniforms or carry weapons. Some have 4 legs and a tail. And sometimes the most important mission is the one you do in silence, without recognition, simply because it's the right thing to do. If you're struggling, there is always someone or something watching out for you. You are never as alone as you think. If this story moved you, please know that help is available. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline 988. Veterans Crisis Line. Dial 988, then press 1. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to Army Story for more true tales of courage, sacrifice, and the heroes, both human and canine, who remind us that every life is worth saving. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and never forget the heroes among us.